Hello everyone. So this is day 3 of 30 days AWS series, and today we will learn about AWS Identity and Access Management Service. This is also called IAM service. So when we create a AWS account for the first time, by default it creates with a root user. So we all know that root user is a powerful user. It has access to all the resources in the AWS account. It can create and delete any resources. So basically it's a privileged user. Now let's say a new employee joins the organization and you want to give her access to your AWS account, but you only want to give her access to certain resources which she needs to work with on daily basis, and you don't want her to touch any other resource like DynamoDB because she doesn't need to work on that. So that's where we use AWS IAM service. So AWS IAM service manages the access to your AWS resources, and it takes care of the authentication and authorization. And there are three types of identities that IAM service manages: user, group, and role. So user is a person who has access to the AWS account. So whenever a new employee joins the organization, a user account has to create for that user, and all the users have their own unique name and password. And just after creating the IAM user, users cannot access the resources on AWS account. We have to allow them to use the resources. That's where we use IAM policy. So IAM policy is like a document where we can define what AWS resources a user can allow to use and what AWS service they are not allowed to use. Let's say we want to allow user to have access for EC2 and S3 but not for DynamoDB, so we can define this in IAM policy. And IAM policy can be attached to all three identities: user, group, and role. And there are many predefined IAM policy for all the services which is managed by AWS, but we can also create our custom IAM policies. Then we have IAM groups. So groups are the collection of similar types of user. So when there are multiple users and you want to assign same IAM policies to all of them, so instead of assigning IAM policy one by one to each user, we create a group and we attach IAM policy to the group. And when we add user to that group, all the users can inherit that IAM policy. So in that way, we don't have to waste time assigning all the users same policy. For example, we can create a group developer and we can add all the developers inside that group. So all the developers will inherit the policy which is assigned to that developer group. And last identity, we have IAM roles. So IAM role is a set of permission that a user or AWS service can assume to have temporary access to resources. So sometimes users need to access an AWS resource for short period of time, and because they don't work on that resource on daily basis, the IAM policy doesn't allow them to have the access to that resource. So they can assume a IAM role which allow the access to that resource for short period of time, and once their work is done they can go back to their original IAM policy again. You can consider it like a visitor badge. So when we visit a company where we don't work, so security folks give us a visitor badge, and that visitor badge we can use to access certain areas in the company premises. And once we done with our work, we have to give it back to the security before leaving. So the same rule applies to the IAM roles. So in short, IAM service work as a firewall to our AWS account. When our identity tries to log into our AWS account, it checks the login name and password and it authenticate them. And once they are login, there is a IAM policy that take cares of the authorization. So now let us do some hands-on on AWS console. So I have logged into the console and let me search IAM service. And this is the dashboard for IAM service. So if I go to users, you can see I don't have any users currently because I have not created any IAM user. So let's create an IAM user. Click on create user and give a username. I'm giving Priya, you can give any username you want. And right here, this is a checkbox. So if you want to provide AWS Management Console access to this user, you can check it. And then there are two options for password: auto generated password and custom password. So auto generated password means you don't have to create your own password, it will be auto generated. And if you select custom password, you can create a password as per your choice. So I'm going to select custom password and create a password. And if you want user to create a new password on first login, you can check this box. I'm going to uncheck it and then click on next. So in this step, we have to set permission by attaching the IAM policies. So this time I'm skipping this. Click on next and review the username and click on create user. So user has been created. For the credential, you can download this CSV file. Now click on return to user list. You can see the user Priya has been created. Now copy your account ID and sign out from your root account. And sign in again as a IAM user. So paste the account number you have copied and give the IAM username. So my IAM username is Priya, and give the password and click on sign in. So you can see I have logged in with the IAM user. You can see here my name. So as we have not attached any IAM policy to this IAM user, you can see it says access denied to service catalog and access denied for cost and uses. And if I go to IAM service again, so here also it says that access denied because we have not assigned any IAM policy to that. And as I told that just creating the IAM user is not enough. We have to attach the IAM policy to allow the access. So if I go to user and if I try to create a user, it says access denied. So I cannot perform any action on this account because I have not assigned any IAM policy to this IAM user Priya. If I search any other service like EC2 and click on that, so you can see here also it says you are not authorized to perform this operation because user Priya is not authorized to perform. So you cannot perform any action on any resources without an IAM policy. So now let me sign out from my IAM account. Now again sign in using root account. So I have again signed in to my root account and just go to IAM service and then go to users. Just click on username and in the permission section click on add permission and select add permissions. So for adding the permissions, there are three options. So the first option is add user to group. So you can add this user to group. Second is copy permission. So if you have any other user and you want to copy all the policies of that user, you can select this. And then lastly, we have attach policy directly. So we will select this option. So here you can attach the policy directly to this user. So as you can see, there are many predefined IAM policies for all the AWS services, which is managed by AWS. You can select the policy you want to assign to this user. So let's say I want to assign for S3. So I'll search S3. So you can see Amazon S3 full access. So this will provide the full access to S3 service. So user can create a bucket, delete a bucket, and list the object inside the bucket. And then there is S3 read only access, S3 table full access, and all these policies are for S3 bucket. If you click on this plus sign, you can see the policy in JSON format. So let me select S3 full access and click on next and then add permission. So now you can see user has Amazon S3 full access. So now the user can perform all the actions on S3 bucket. So I have attached this S3 full access policy just for an example, but IAM has a principle called least privilege. So according to this principle, we should only give the permission which a user really need to perform their task, and nothing more than that. For example, if a user just need to see and retrieve the object of S3 bucket, we should give S3 read only access. We can give full access to those users who really oversee and manage all the services like senior administrator. But for regular IAM users like developers, we have to follow the least privilege rule. It reduces the security risk and prevent the accidental damage. And user cannot accidentally delete or modify the resources. So now let me remove this S3 full access policy. Just select this and click on remove and remove the policy. And go to add permission, click on add permissions, select attach policy directly and then search S3 and select S3 read only access and click on next and add permission. So S3 read only access policy has been assigned. So right now we have assigned AWS managed IAM policy. We can also create our own custom IAM policy. Click on add permission and select create inline policy. And here you can select resource you want to create custom IAM policy for. So let me select IAM, and then here you can select what action you want to allow on this IAM policy. If you want to allow all IAM actions, you can check this box. Otherwise, there are options for allowing list actions and read, write, and other actions. So I will select list action and read action. And here in effect, you can see allow option is selected. That means user will be allowed to perform all these actions. But if you select deny, so these actions will be denied for the user. So this time I will select allow. And in resources we have to select if we want to assign this permission for a particular resource, like for any particular group or role or user. For example, if I have a group called developer and I want this user to only list and see that group but not the other group, so I can click on add ARN and I have to give the group name. So I can give developer and the path. But this time we don't have any other resources like group or role, so we can select any in this account. So this user can see and list any group in this account. And for same, I can select for user also and then click on next. And here you have to give a policy name, so you can give any name. So let me give IAM read write and then click on create policy. As you can see, policy has been created and it is attached to this user. If you click the plus sign, you can see in JSON format. So this is how we can attach a IAM policy to a user. So now that we have attached S3 read only and IAM read write policy, let's see if user can access these services. So for that, again we have to log off from our root account and log in with IAM user. So I have logged in with IAM user and let's search S3 service. So this is the H3 bucket dashboard, and as you can see there are two H3 buckets, code builds and PS bucket demo. So because the IAM user Priya has S3 read write access, that's why I can see these buckets. And if I go inside this S3 bucket, I can see the object inside this bucket, which is a zip file. So we have assigned read and write access for S3 bucket. We don't have assigned any other permission. So let's try to delete this bucket. Just copy this permanent delete and paste it here and click on delete object. So you can see it says failed to delete and error is access denied. So this user cannot delete the bucket because we have not provided access to delete the bucket. We just have provided access to see and retrieve the object inside the bucket. So that is why the user cannot delete this bucket. Let's close it. And we also have provide the IAM read write access. So let's go to IAM, click on user. I can see the user, and I can see the policies also, and the roles. So we have provided the access for read and write. So this user can see all the users and roles inside the account. But if I try to delete this user, so it says fail to delete because this IAM user is not authorized to perform delete operation. So we have seen how we can attach IAM policy when there is only one user. But if there are multiple user and you attach IAM policy one by one to each user, it will take a lot of time. So for that, we can create a IAM group. So let's create an IAM group. Click on create group and give a group name. So you can give any name. Let me give as developer. And currently we have only one user, so it is showing this. If you want to add this user to this group, so you can select, and you can attach IAM policy which you want to attach for all the developers. So let me attach policy for EC2. So I want EC2 read access and S3 read only access. And then click on create group. So group has been created. If I add any user to this group, they all will inherit this IAM policy. So we don't have to assign them one by one. Now let's go to IAM roles. So as I told, IAM role provides access for short period of time. For example, you have provided developers to have access to EC2 and S3 because they work on those services on daily basis. But one day they want to check something on DynamoDB. Since that policy is not there in their list, so they cannot access it, and they just need a temporary access for a short period of time. So in that case you can create a role. So let's create a role. Click on create role. So first we select trusted entity type. So trusted entity type means who can assume this role. So it can be an AWS service. So an AWS service also assumes role to use another AWS service. It can be user of an AWS account, and a web identity like your Google or Facebook identities. And SAML 2.0 federation means when you work in a corporate, you have your corporate credentials, so you can assume this role using those corporate credentials. And finally, we have custom trust policy. So you can create your own custom trust policy to define who can assume this role. So for this demo, I will select AWS account, and there are two options, this account and another AWS account. So if you want this role to be assumed by this account's user, then you can select this user. And if you want a user from another account to assume this role, you can select another account and give a account ID here. I'm going to select this account. Click on next. So it depends on what access you want to allow using this role. So let me search DynamoDB, and I will select DynamoDB full access so that whoever assumes this role can have access to DynamoDB. And click on next. Then give a role name. So I'll give DynamoDB full access. And you can also give description what, and it is optional, so I'll skip that. So this is the trust policy. So here you can see STS assume role. So STS stands for security token service. So when users assume roles, they don't have to provide login ID and password. STS creates a temporary credential for them so that they can access the AWS resources for limited period of time. And here this is the AWS account ID which we have selected. And this is the IAM policy we have attached to this role. Now click on create role. So now role is created, and we have a user Priya, and we want Priya user to assume this role. So we have to allow Priya to assume this role. So for that, just go back to role and click on the role. copy this ARN and go back to users. Click on user, and in the permission section, click on add permission and select create inline policy and select JSON. Paste the ARN in front of resource in double quotes and put the cursor in front of action, and here search STS and select STS and then select assume role. So now the user Priya can assume this DynamoDB full access role. Click on next. Now give a policy name. So I'll give DynamoDB full access policy. Click on create policy. So the policy attached to this user. Now to assume this policy, click on your username and make sure you have logged in with your IAM credentials. And here you can see there is an option for switch role. And before that, copy account ID and the role name somewhere and then switch role. Give your account ID and the role name and click on switch role. Now this role is to access the DynamoDB. So head over to search and search the DynamoDB. This is the dashboard for DynamoDB. Go to tables. So there is one table called demo. And because we are using DynamoDB full access role, we can even create the table. And this is how we can assume a role. Before going back to your IAM account, you can click on the account number and click on switch back. So you will switch back to your IAM account. So this was the demo for IAM user group and roles. And now let me show you how you can add MFA for your IAM account. So just go to IAM and go to users and go to security credentials. Here you can see assign MFA device. Click on that. So before that, just download Google Authenticator app on your phone and give a device name. You can give phone and select Authenticator app. Make sure you have Google Authenticator installed in your phone. Click on next. Click on this show QR code and scan the QR using your Google Authenticator app. And you will see a code changing in every 30 seconds. So just give the first code here and after 30 seconds give the second code here and click on add MFA. And here you can see MFA device is added. So now whenever you log in, it will ask MFA code. So you have to give the code from your Google Authenticator app. So it is one of the security best practices to have multi-factor authentication. So this is all for this video. If this video was helpful for you, please give me a like and subscribe to my channel. We'll see you in the next video.